Hey, what's up? I'm Andy,
And I'm Patrick.
and we're in a band called Fall Out Boy.
But we're here with Fall Out Boy, with Pat and Andy. Now, guys, I know I'm going to pronounce this album name wrong.
Don't even worry about it. Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not the first person to pronounce it wrong, but I'll try with my limited knowledge of French. Folie et deux.
I mean,
Close
I couldn't
enough.
do much better. It's one of the things is that, so we named it, it is a French term, but it's a French it was a psychological term from the early 1900s that was coined by the French, but they didn't really use it. I guess it was predominantly used in the United States, so when we,
They didn't know about it.
They didn't even know what we were talking about. They're like, what these, you know, whatever, so... So yeah, it means a shared madness of two, and we use it as kind of it's a satire, kind of, you know, it's a metaphor pointing out how insane everybody got for like stuff. You know, everyone was buying the SUVs, and you know, I don't know, like, and just really thinking about themselves for a little while in the United States, I guess. And we kind of exported that idea.
by how insane everyone got for stuff. You mean that period is ending, or?
No.
Well, but I think there's a little bit of an awareness for it now, because at very least we have to face it, because we were buying stuff we couldn't afford, and now the world economy is just ruined, like directly because of that. Like, it's like, oh yeah, we were getting mortgages for stuff that, you know, like we're just inventing money, you know, like whatever that doesn't exist, like like so I mean, the record kind of deals with that as the root cause of like a lot of the world's problems. As like people are just so selfish and just kind of vain, you know, and whatever.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
That's quite a heavy thing.
I know,
to
right?
Be
and
singing
then I say that, and then you know, you do some morning radio show, and you know, everyone's like, so yeah, let's, you know, whatever. And it's really fun, and they go, so what's this album about? And you're like, yeah, it's about the world economy crashing, kind of, and they're like, awesome. Well, let's go over to, you know, like whatever. So,
wow. Well, I mean, this record, I have to say, does sound, regardless of what it's actually about, it does sound more epic than things you've done before. It almost sounds a little bit Queen-ish
Wow.
at points.
That's cool.
that's Andy's favorite band ever. So,
Is
Yeah.
it really?
yeah, you just won
Well,
points
them
with
and
them.
Metallica, yeah.
Queen
Together.
and Metallica.
Together they are. They're
What a-
both epic.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, Ride the Lightning and Justice are some of the most epic albums ever.
You're right. But, no, actually, I'm not
In a
going to get into
Queenish
this
way,
discussion. We'll never
for
talk
metal.
about you guys. So, I mean, were you trying to move away? I mean, you know, I sort of saw you guys as more of a straightforward pop kind of band. Were you trying to get away from that area of music?
I think it's. I don't really think that we ever thought about what type of band we were. You know, as far as like just whatever. I think it was when we started out. We got called a pop punk band, right? But the thing was, the pop punk bands didn't want to play with us. We were hardcore kids, and we were too pop for the hardcore kids. For like our friends, so they'd show up to the show, but they wouldn't mosh or anything. And then the emo kids were way too serious, and we would laugh and stuff, and they could not handle that.
You know, you just called people way too serious to like a band that sings about the economy.
Well, no, but I'm saying, like, the thing is that, like, we have a laugh quite often about, you know, I mean, that's kind of part of our thing, is that if you ever see any of our videos, we don't take ourselves very seriously. Like, yeah, I mean, like, there's stuff that we're paying attention to the world, but at the same time, like, you know, like, okay, there are certain things you're gonna make fun of, right? Like, I don't think you want to be necessarily, like, I don't know, like, I think it works to be the Clash for some bands, you know, where you're just like dead serious about everything, or like whatever, but then there's also a certain, I mean, we don't take ourselves very seriously, so we can't take everything seriously. Like, there's going to be certain topics that we're just going to have to laugh at, you know, like, it's insane that people, I don't know, care about what dog Barack Obama's getting. Like, that really has a lot of bearing on his governing style, I believe, actually.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you never know. It could be like, you know, some of the wannabe psychiatrists or psychologists. Or,
I know, right? Oh, it says something
Or the
about his
real
character.
psycho.
Yeah, if he was getting a schnauzer, that means something different than if he would. But you want anyway. To your question though, I think as far as the pop thing goes, like I said, we never really thought about any of that stuff, and I think we've always experimented on our albums. It's just one of those things where you also have, I mean, you have all different types of songs, and the ones that get popular are the popular ones, so it just kind of happens that way. It's not, we didn't plan that out. It's just kind of, I think when I look at this album, I think it's a lot more cohesive, where every song kind of has a similar level of, I guess, experimentalism in it, but I think our records have always had that. It just was maybe more distilled before, where like we have songs that are really, kind of pop songs, and then we have songs that were really, kind of crazy and weird. So, but now it's like kind of, there's a little bit of crazy and weird on everything, little bits and pieces.
I was actually going to mention that this album does really sound like one complete piece of work as well. Were you writing a bunch of individual songs that just happened to sound really good together, or was there a plan?
Yeah, it's a combination where I think in between albums, we're very prolific. We have a lot of songs, and they go in a lot of different directions, and then you find you kind of find a point, and that was the thing, is that so it's still a fun record. Like, we still enjoy playing this music, and and whatever, and our videos are still funny, and like some of the lyrics are still funny, whatever. And we actually have some jokes within the music as well, but you had one serious point, which is that kind of thing I was talking about, that vanity, selfishness thing, right? And then you find, like, okay, what songs support that? Because that's what we wanted to say or whatever, so what songs support that? So we had like 60 songs, and it was really just picking from those songs, like what made sense. And it's interesting because a lot of them had started out just with similar lyrical themes, and then you like notice it, and you're like, yeah, but they kind of sound similar too. Like, when we're talking about those things, it like kind of sounds like, we kind of have a sound for that almost, what I mean? So, yeah, again, I swear we're not this serious always, but it's really hard. I've noticed that anytime we start off with the album title in an interview, it always just, that's the tone for the rest of it. Just like, it's serious, no jokes, no nothing.
I don't talk a lot.
Yeah,
in those interviews.
Yeah, sorry.
That's cool. I mean,
So,
you're the songwriter.
no, I am sorry, Andy.
Wow, did we just see
Oh no, I'm kidding.
a big argument?
Yeah, it was.
No.
That's.
Well,
I'm
he's
going
a songwriter, so it's like I can answer for him when I'm doing an interview and he's not there, but I hate doing it when he's right next to me.
Yeah. Does he?
Because I know what I put into it, but I think the point of like writing music to kind of carry the lyrics and like match different emotions, that came from him for the most part.
But how much does the rest of the band put into the songs then?
I think a lot.
It's hard to describe.
Yeah, it's indescribable. I think all of our tastes and the diverse musical likings kind of all add to it. I think you take that into account for us when you write.
And it's also one of those things where it really depends. Like on this record, Joe made it a point to be around a lot while I was writing. So I was writing, but he was like in the room physically at like, and sometimes would be like, hey, what if this note was that note or whatever, you know what I mean? So it kind of became a thing where I've never really felt like I get called the songwriter, I write the music or whatever, but I always feel like there's no way that I would be able to write any of this stuff without the rest of the band. It just wouldn't
and I feel like I'm always there for like the arranging of songs.
Andy's really heavily.
But they're a little. Not that they're. They're mostly done, but there's this pliable layer of that cement that's
Some
being
leeway,
put on the end, and I'm always there for that.
Somehow we're just building a house all of a sudden.
Just came out.
But
laying and putting up drywall and
when you actually write a song, do you come in with the chord structure and every note for the solo and every drum, and then leave it to suggestions?
I'm pretty thorough with my demoing and stuff. But one of the things that I do, and this is where Andy comes in, is that I don't do from start to finish. I do from like top to bottom. So, and somehow this is top and this is bottom with my hands when I said that. But
it's because you're in Australia.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll do I'll do the drums, I'll do the bass, I'll do everything, But then I don't really have what part's going to come out. I have my verse chorus structure, but then I don't really have what's happening beyond that. and so Andy kind of helps with the arrangement a lot. Joe fills in a lot of the gaps in like just, I don't know, like he always finds like pockets that could use something and you didn't realize that. And then Pete, I mean, is the lyricist, so he's like, you know, I mean, the songs I think all happen because of him. So it's like, we're totally a band, I think, you know, and I think that's and we also have such different musical backgrounds, you know. I think that's the other thing that's really I like about our band is that, you know, Joe's very into hard rock, and that's been pretty much it, like exclusively, like that's what he listens to, and Andy has pretty broad, well, I'm speaking for you, but
it's Queen Metallica.
I know, right? Well, but Queen Metallica, but then also, you know, a lot of hip hop, a lot of like political hip hop and
stuff.
and various, I don't know, like Brit pop and stuff. And then I don't know, I like a lot of, I saw your shirt, but I like a lot of soul and jazz and blues.
I think that blues influence really came through too in WAMS.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you sound surprised. I thought that was very obvious.
Totally. I'm stoked to hear that because that one was a little bit more subtle. I think I Don't Care was like blatant, like John Lee Hooker, just, you know, like whatever. Like that was like pretty in your face. Like, okay, that's what this is.
Oh, that was the riff, though, wasn't it? Yeah.
You know, like totally. But yeah, no, I think. I mean, we're from the band started in Chicago, so there's no way to escape the blues for us, really. So I mean, and I think a lot of our structure comes from blues too. So, but thanks, man. That's good to hear. Glad to hear that.
You're welcome. You now you mentioned a couple of times that you know you like to have a laugh and you like to have a joke. You've also mentioned hard rock influences and blues influence. So where the hell did Beat It come from?
Well,
and how did John Mayer get involved?
Fair enough. I mean, at the same time, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. I'm gesturing to. Nothing, because you can't see anything.
Yeah.
But
there's 1,000 people behind that camera. It's it's pandemonium.
But I was talking earlier about so you know most of us are children of the '80s, and I mean I think that's just kind of this omnipresent thing, you know, like whatever you grew up like, no matter what you ended up growing into, you know, everybody grew up on Michael Jackson and you know, and I don't know, like. Just the 80s in general, like, you know, all those, I mean, that just era of MTV where it was like Aha and, you know, Hall & Oates and like whatever. I mean, like, no matter how cool you ended up being, everyone started out with, you know, Private Eyes. so I think that's the thing is that like, and I think people put down pop too much too, because I think there's a lot of really, you know, really high art in good pop. I think, you know, it's easy to get struck by lightning once and just have like one hit for, you know, whatever. But I mean, Michael Jackson, for what it's worth, had a lot of really good songs. You know, I mean, like songs that, like Billie Jean is just a really great groove, you know, and whatever. And Beat It was just one of those things that we started just playing, and it was just a fun. I mean, I was surprised with how heavy it was when just changing guitar tones. That riff is just really heavy. It's a very heavy song, and so that satisfied Joe's hard rock thing very easily. And you know, I like soul, so I got to sing it like a soul song or whatever. It was really just fun. And John Mayer, we were talking about who are like guitar gods right now. There's really not a lot of like guys that have made it a point to be like, you know, really great soloists or whatever in guitar. You don't really have a lot of that anymore, and I think John's one of the only guys that really has made a name for himself as that. I mean, it's kind of in certain circles only though, because I mean a lot of people only know him as the, you know, Your Body is a Wonderland guy or whatever, but he's a shredder. I mean, he's awesome. He can easily do anything that Van Halen can do or anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh?
I wouldn't say that.
No, easily. No, yeah, you're right. But I'm just saying, like, easily. And I'll put it this way: he can easily do anything Van Halen has done. He's the type of guy that can like study and play.
Van Halen's the best, though. I think.
Some people
I
think
think he's one of the best.
What's that?
What about Brian May? Or Kirk
Van
Hammett?
Halen's the best. Brian May's awesome.
Okay, that's it. The end.
Period.
I mean, Brian May's different.
Yeah,
He's not as much of a shredder.
I think Van Halen's
when it comes to shredding,
Yeah, Van Halen.
But there are other guitarists that I'd rather listen to sometimes. You know.
Yeah,
So.
I'm not saying that.
Wow, argument number 2.
No, those aren't real arguments. So the thing about another thing about Fall Out Boy is that is that we love the kind of Seinfeld argument, the argument that really has
We're
no
like
purpose.
Seinfeld friends.
Yes, totally.
That's exactly what we are.
We're the argument that doesn't really have a purpose and no one's really trying to win, and there's like Pete and I got in this argument, have this ongoing argument about girls with short hair. I like girls with short hair. He hates it, or whatever. And we were just going back and forth about it. And we've been like, and no one's won yet, whatever. So.
Not a winnable argument.
Yeah, I know, totally. Well, but I mean, there's no point in winning it.
If you like the Seinfeld friends, does that mean when it's time for the band to end, you'll be in jail?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go.
Which I thought was such a strange
I don't even remember
ending.
the last episode.
I do vividly that they go to jail for. Well, I don't want to spoil it for anybody if they're watching it on TVD or something.
Too late.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, how many people have not seen that?
Well, that was.
It was
There's
bad,
probably
though,
new
right?
fans.
Do you remember that Larry King thing where Larry King was interviewing Jerry Seinfeld about the show, and he's like, "So your show wasn't canceled?" He's like, "No, it was the biggest show." Like, and Jerry Seinfeld was like noticeably upset. He's like, "It was the biggest show on TV.
Yeah.
Like everyone saw that show. What do you mean it was canceled? No, he ended the show. Like, yeah, no, everyone on Earth saw that show except the people that didn't."
Anyway.
Yeah.
Now, you guys did the Simpsons theme recently.
Mm-hmm.
Which must be really cool. I think we're all pretty much the same age here, so we all pretty much grew up on The Simpsons.
Yeah,
Totally.
What's it like actually tackling such an iconic song for our... I don't know if that's a bit sad saying that.
No,
but,
it isn't. You want to know what? I was talking about this. There was I did a really boring interview where I was just very, I was very just dorky about the whole thing. But I was saying that it is really iconic. There's something so like identifiable about it, and you wouldn't mistake that music for any other style of music. It just seems to have come out of nowhere. It was just like Danny Elfman was in this stride when he wrote it. That was just like everything just sounded like him. It doesn't sound like anything, and it was hard for a lot of reasons because first off, Green Day did a rather famous version, right? And
That wasn't first off, though. That was in the movie, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. But I'm just saying, as far as if you're going to do a version of it, a rock version of it, Green Day did a pretty succinct, really good version of it. And then, there are also a lot of really good other versions. Sonic Youth did one. I think Yo La Tango did one.
No Doubt.
I don't think
they do one?
No, I think like NRBQ did one. There's all sorts of weird bands that did one. And so the kind of like put your own spin thing on it has already been done to death. So we were kind of like, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're just going to do it. We're just going to do the song as, just transpose all the instruments over to guitar, which was insane. There's so many different, like that was hard as all get out because I don't read music. So someone gave me the charts for it and I was like, I could do this if I had several hours to just waste. Like, okay, that's a G, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, like whatever. But so we just did it by ear and
I can read music.
Yeah, because you're a professional. I'm not. I'm not kidding. But
and yet he still writes the songs.
yeah, I know, right? Just bad decision. They let me write the songs. But So I it was a blast though. I mean, you're right though. It's like that. Everybody grew up on The Simpsons. It's like the biggest thing. It's awesome, and we're honored to we took our name from The Simpsons too. I don't think I don't think anybody that's seen the show doesn't know that. Though, then people will say all the time like, "Oh yeah, Milhouse," and it's like, no, Milhouse played him in the movie, but come on.
Mm-hmm.
But Fall Out Boy was a pretty small, or he hasn't really appeared that much recently in The Simpsons.
Yeah, he's been gone for a while. Maybe we did that. I'm sorry. Maybe it just.
See, if he comes back now, then everyone will go, "Oh man."
But I've been waiting for that. I think it'd be
really
so
lazy.
funny. Like I think it'd be so funny to just have him come back and be like, "Yeah, I mean, like whatever." I don't know. There's so many that's just we are ripe for parody. I would love for The Simpsons to just mock us relentlessly.
See, and that can be a big wink at anyone writing a Simpsons episode.
No, totally. Like we deserve it. We totally, but it's all in good fun anyway. I mean, so they let us, do the song, and we were honored. We got to see a table read and them recording the audio for it, which is awesome. Like they have such a talented cast. They're so funny. They're so like Hank Azaria is really insanely funny in person. Like to watch him do his voices, it's awesome. So,
well, since I think every interview should end on The Simpsons,
yes.
I'm going to end that. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank
man.
you.
Thanks a lot.
Please hang up and try again.